welcome ladies and gentlemen, because today I'm here with my baby daddy. I am here with Ross Armstrong, who is my business partner, my husband of 10 years, my friend of over 20 years, and like I said, my baby daddy. Hey, Ross.
Hey.
Thank you for doing this. All right, so we are starting a new series called Curate Allies, which we will be doing a series of episodes with men to one, tell your story, to get to know you better, but to also explore like what does it mean for men to be true allies to women. And so to start, I'm going to ask you, well, first of all, I like your shirt.
Thank you. Thank you. I made it myself.
You did not, but that's cute. Do you like my shirt? Do you remember my shirt?
I do remember it.
What was this shirt?
When I proposed to you.
I can still fit it. Barely. That's why it's not buttoned up all the way. So what does it mean to be a Curate Ally?
It's definitely different on this side of the camera. What it means to me to be a Curate Ally, I think people have to understand what curate means in the first place. Mm-hmm. And then in order for you to understand that, once you understand that, then you can understand how you can be of help or how to be an ally and not take on the offense of people and just only be helpful and supportive to their mission. Mm-hmm. And I think to me what a Curate Ally is someone that shows up, is someone that offers resources, someone that can help when it doesn't directly affect them. And they can be empathetic towards, in this case, women, women who work.
Yes. Okay, you look really good. This is very interesting being on this side of you. So, Ross is typically behind the camera. He is never on this side of the camera, and he is typically filming Curate episodes and like telling me to fix my hair or see, I got it. Doing that, making sure that I'm good. And so in my mind, that's a Curate Ally. Not knowing fully because you can't embody the work that I do, but you can support it and you can just be there and show up for women. So I want to actually start this this episode by talking about like your upbringing, because on the last couple of Curate episodes ago, Wendy interviewed me and we shared my story and my upbringing. But what I think is important is that we come from two different backgrounds. We were raised totally different, and somehow we've made our worlds come together. So you have a very beautiful family that is now my family, and they have been very supportive and like great allies for us in our marriage. And so I want to talk about your upbringing. You have three siblings. You have three siblings, but your mom took on the responsibility of like your cousins. And so I would like to start there. What was your childhood like?
So my childhood was, in which you were one of my cousins growing up. It was, our house was, it was like not a community house, but it was a house that was filled with my cousins that I thought were my siblings growing up. There were 8, maybe 9 of us at the most at one point in our house. That may have been a little bit over 1,200 square feet. Mm-hmm. My mom got custody of my cousins, and I got the opportunity to kind of grow up with them and get a different perspective from the way that they were growing up and, in and out of foster care. And
so how was that for you? You were already, so there's this thing that I see all the time about like the issues of middle children and how they're so unheard and so misunderstood. And so you were already in the middle, and then your parents kind of took on the responsibility of a whole other family. Where did that leave you, and how did that make you feel being in that situation?
I think as an adult, I appreciate what my parents have done for so many different people. And as any kid, like, we worked, as any kid, I think we worked more than any other kid probably ever had the opportunity, because my parents were so, they created these really great disciplined human beings that I have within my siblings, myself and my siblings. The attention to detail, the work ethic, it was all there. I think in the midst of it, as being a child, sometimes I wanted to do things that I didn't necessarily understand at the time, that weren't going to grow me into the person that I feel like I am today, or that I strive to be.
What was it like for y'all spiritually? Like, what was it like in the churches that you went to? Because I grew up Baptist and Catholic, because I had one Catholic parent and I had a Baptist parent. And I think it has shifted a lot of how I see things in life today.
Yeah.
And it actually has pushed me away from religion because of how we were taught religion. But my understanding of like a lot of things that I learned growing up has definitely helped me to grow more spiritually and get to know God in a different, loving way. So let's talk about like, how was that for you? Like, what church did y'all go to? And you don't even really have to say the name, but like the kind of church that y'all went to, and what did that look like for y'all?
So I definitely got a culture shock when I started dating you, because I think the churches, I know, when we were growing up, we went to a church that was very, I guess, analytical. Like everything was, like we studied the Bible, we knew all these stories, we had all the details, and I don't know if there was ever a real feeling of God. I felt so much
Conviction.
Yeah, I felt like I could tell you about any of these stories. I could go through the process of going to church, and we were volunteers to clean the church, one Saturday a month. We did all of the things that were a part of the church. But when I would hear people talk about, the feeling part, the relationship with God, I don't know if as a child that I got to experience that.
How does that feel for you today? Like, how has that shifted for you? Because, we wake up and for the most part, every morning we try to pray together. We try to get the kids involved. What was it that shifted in you that helped you to know God more, that helped you to know more of his love versus...
I think that God will show up in your life. He's in your life every day, but I think that he will visibly speak and show himself to you in the moment that you need it. So I've been a fireman, I've been a fireman since I was 19, 20 or something like that. And, moving through life, just kind of moving without purpose, moving without understanding of what you're supposed to do. I always tell people, I'm like, I think I kind of accidentally was obeying God, like throughout the process of becoming a teenager to an adult. And I think throughout that accidental obedience, like he's always kind of like protected me. Not that he would have not protected me and not had me if it wasn't for accidental obedience. But I think once I became more intentional about my relationship with him, it felt like an actual relationship. It was like, from dating girls in the past and stuff like that, and if you're 1 foot in, 1 foot out, you're never gonna get to the point. And it was kind of like when we started getting real serious, and once we got married, it was like you're going to get hit with everything to try to separate the union. And once you know that both parties are locked in on the common goal, and there's love and there's trust and there's all these things, like it makes it easier to talk. It makes it easier to build. And I think that's where we are collectively, but just individually for myself, I think that's where I am with God.
Yeah. You dated people before me?
No, absolutely not.
I didn't think so. anyways, we're gonna we are going to get into that. So we literally, y'all, our entire lives, we have grown up together. I met Ross when I was 8 years old. We went to the same middle school, same high school. He graduated from the same high school that I went to. He didn't start at this high school, but now he understands that it was the best high school ever in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Come on.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. So when we were growing up, I always looked at you like somebody who was very mature, but also very kind and calm, and always so gentle. And so, but looking back on high school, I'm like, I always say, like, don't you wish that you can go back and like redo some things? Because I want to talk about high school for you and how it was so different between the both of us. Because you always worked, you always had a job. Like, let's get into it. I need to say these things as if these people, because they don't know you, but.
So high school, like I said, I grew up with all of my cousins in the house, with my siblings. My mom had us cutting grass. My dad had us laying tile floors and painting. And when I say cutting grass, I'm talking about like grass, right? We thought we were the actual Hebrews. You know, like we were working, and things that I appreciate, of course. But I think my high school years, I passed through them working, because that same work ethic always had my brain just like moving, just like, man, I need to, like, what is next? And what, I missed my own prom, junior year and senior year, to go to someone else's prom. There were opportunities that I had that, you know, I mean, the crazy thing is I would probably never go back and do this though, but the choir teacher at Skylandville used to always come to me. She was like, you have an amazing voice and you need to come and take choir. I'm like, I'm not about to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't know how other people would look at me or what they would say if I was in choir. Even though now I'm like, man, from a music theory standpoint, I would have absolutely loved to got that training from this lady. I can't remember what her name was. And the same thing when I was, my first 2 years, I went to Baton Rouge High in high school. And I remember the coach coming to me and was like trying to recruit me to the track team. And I was like, man, y'all wear those little shorts. I'm like, I'm good.
Do you think that a lot of that was like your insecurities, or maybe you just not fully understanding yourself enough to put yourself out there and to take risk to truly enjoy the things that, was there anything in you that wanted to do those things and you were just like,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and I bring up the choir thing. I don't think I've ever talked about that before. But there has always been like a desire, like musically, because music production, and then to become an artist. And still, even to this day, I'm like, man, I got these ideas that I know other people can't pull off in the way that I would want them to be portrayed, you know, from someone else. And I think that it was a mixture of my insecurities and probably not knowing myself.
Yeah.
I think people thought maybe I was quiet and just like super cool and lax and all that, but I think it was probably hiding like some level of anxiety or that would peek its head out every once in a while.
This fear that just was in you, you know, these insecurities and this anxiety that you carried, where did that come from?
I don't know. I've took the Enneagram and I'm starting to learn more about myself and the reason why I feel like how I feel. And it's always been like a very different way that I felt, because when I would look around at other people, I would say, there must be something wrong with me.
Yeah.
Because I don't think like that. My actions aren't in sometimes in the same ways. There are other ways that people may jump into something. I'm a little bit more cautious. I don't know where or what has caused it that made me to be how I am. But for the longest time, it was a very lonely space, and I just became used to the loneliness of being
Being different.
being different. Like you would call it a unicorn
Yes.
or an enigma or something like that,
I actually enjoy that about you, that you are an enigma, that most people think that they know you, but they actually do not know you. I also think it's funny, when you get married, the things that draw you to people are the things that over time drives you crazy about them. And so when I think about like the years of our relationship, I'm like, you would be so drawn to this like outgoing, big bubbly personality, but then it could also be very overwhelming for you. And vice versa. I was always drawn to how like cool and laid back you were, but in moments where I need like affirmation or I need you to say something to affirm my feelings, then I feel overwhelmed because I feel like maybe I'm doing too much, or maybe he truly just doesn't care. But over time, like I now know that is clearly not the case. You became a dad at 19. Let's talk about that, because Jaden is now 15 years old. And it is literally like watching you in high school all over again. So let's talk about when you became a dad. Like, how did that shift your world, and what did that mean for you, as far as like your career and now your purpose and what you were focused on?
So I think that God is really, really strategic and kind with us, because I could see myself. I could easily see myself losing myself, if that makes sense. I could see myself having all of these thoughts and all of these ideas and no motivation to get up and go get it, and just sitting on it. It's like, how many records have we produced in the studio, and these things have never seen the light of day because of the lack of motivation or the lack of courage to take the next step. Jaden was my initial burst of courage for me.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have you to tell your version of like how we started dating. But the fact is, I saw you on social media as a dad, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, a little bit of backstory. When you first had Jaden, he briefly lived with my mom. It wasn't a long time, but I was in my senior year in high school, and Jaden was a little bitty baby. And I remember Jaden's mom dropping him off, and I'm like, just like, oh my God, like you are truly a parent. And so for me, then it just kind of blew my mind, and I was just like, see, it just kind of amplifies this feeling this thought that I had that you were always an adult. But then some years passed, and I saw this picture of you and Jaden, and I was like, oh my gosh, Jaden is 3 years old. And so I hit you up on social media, and I'm like, you have to bring him to come see me. At the time, his auntie. You have to bring him to come and see me. And what I learned about you then was, even though it was such a hard time in your life, you never made it seem so that Jaden was a burden. He was always your top priority. He always came before anything and everything that you've ever done. And now I'm getting a little emotional talking about it. And you've always been that person. You've always been so kind and thoughtful of other people. But to see you with Jaden is like super amplified. And that was one of the things that, like, I say all the time, I was like, I would never date a man with a kid. And that was so serious. Like, we could date and we could entertain each other, but this is not going anywhere. But after seeing you with Jaden, that drew me closer to you. It made me like love you more. What was that for you? Is that something that just comes natural for you? Because I want you to even like explore that, talking about your parents and like your relationship with your dad, and how is that different with you and Jaden, and you know, even the difference of Jaden not being being a product of two parents who had never been married, and he has never even experienced y'all together. I know I said a lot, so out of all that I just said, you pick where you want to explore, because there's so much to dive into with that.
So I kind of have like I look at a lot of my friends sometimes, or people that I know, and I hear their relationship with their parents. I have like a just unfair advantage. I've had the people that have probably been the most supportive, the most thoughtful towards anything I wanted to do. In all honesty, if it was, I made plenty of mistakes. I am like the black sheep probably of my siblings. Some very, very great, smart, intelligent people. And I was the trier in a way that I guess I would just go experiment things. And I think I am the perfect balance in between both of my parents. My dad just, even if he probably didn't understand it, you know, he kept me out. I got some more equipment for your sound room. He'll pick up stuff from the pawn shop, and you know that was our first studio when we would record the music in there, and you know do our productions and things like that. My mom has always been really supportive. She is the creative. She is the visionary. When Jaden was born, I think I had the opportunity to become a father at an early age, to where it grew me up, and it really made me look past all the bullshit of the people that was around me. And it was so many people that were just experiencing life in a way that was, oh yeah, we got to go to a party because we're in college, or we have to whatever. I was working. I've been a fireman since I was 19 years old, and I was working to provide for him, but then not also to provide, but like just I wanted to continue to execute on the visions of the stuff that I had in my head, and it was kind of hard to and this is that lonely space again, right? Like when you have the vision and then you watch everyone else around you just kind of conform into life, it can kind of throw you off. And Jaden is probably one of my most the proudest things that I've had an opportunity, you know, relationships that I've had an opportunity to be in, because I do see that even though it was a struggle with his mom for those first years, that everything that I thought he missed from me, he was able to get.
Yeah.
Walking around like like Ross Jr. or something. Like it's just, and it's like I didn't even have to tell him or say, this is how you need to do. He literally just watched.
Yes.
You know.
Very kind, very thoughtful. I remember when Jaden was in elementary school and he was at South Downs, and there was this kid in a wheelchair, and his teacher would told us that one time that he would spend his time at recess and lunch with this child. And it's interesting, like years later, we had Rossi, and to see how Jaden is with Rossi is no different than how he's ever been, you know? I think that Rossi and Cece are super blessed to have Jaden as a sibling, to have Jaden as an older sibling. Even though right now, it's funny because right now they don't even take him for granted. Like Cece fully understands Jaden's place in her life. And she already understands their relationship as a 3-year-old, which is crazy. She wakes up asking for him. She goes to sleep like, where is he? You know, is Jaden going to come to that? Is he going to be with us tomorrow? All the time. And so kudos to you for being fantastic. But I now want to explore, how different is it as a dad who you had a kid before you were married, you had a kid before you even had life figured out yet. That's a huge statement because I feel like right now we still figuring life out.
Thanks.
But now, you know, you have 2 children with me, and it has to feel different. Parenting children.
It's a difference just getting off of work in the morning and then having your children there, and they wake up and they feel you. These are some of the things that like I would probably need to have more grace for myself with concerning Jaden's situation, because he hasn't gotten the best of me in that way that Cecilia and Rossi get. I think that like it absolutely feels different when you are. It's just, like sports, for example.
Yeah.
If you're on the same team with somebody and y'all know the vision and you're trying to win in a certain way, you can't just go pick up somebody off the side and say, let's have a pickup game with basketball and expect to win. You can, but it just feels different. It's like watching, some of the boys that I coached, and now they're playing for Madison Prep and they're playing for all these other different schools. And I'm like watching these boys, they literally have stuck together since Sports Academy, since AAU ball, all that. And then now they're out there playing on a high school level. And it's like, man, you know the people a little different compared to just, picking up with like some street ball or something like that. Now you're going out there, you're learning people's personalities, you're learning the different styles of play.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a reason why it's designed for you to have children with the person that you're with.
Yeah.
It's not impossible though, and I think that like sometimes it was never a death wish or something. Like whenever I found out that that she was pregnant with Jaden when I was 19 years old, it wasn't like, oh, this is the end of the world for me.
Yeah.
It was always like this is what's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And what is the reasoning for it,
And let's make the best of it.
Let's make the best of it.
And I think that you did. And I think that you are doing that. And, it's not a better situation, but it is very different. And I think that that Rossi and Cece will know you a little bit different than Jaden knows you. But I don't think that the relationships will be better or worse because of it. Even in our mistakes and even in the things that God did not align for our lives, he's just so graceful in how he allows these things to still play out. How he still uses everything that we do for his glory. And I'm just grateful that we have been able to experience that together. And so now I want to transition a little bit, because we started dating in a time that was just ratchet. People look, there's a lot of people when we're talking, they're like, oh my gosh, Black love, relationship goals. And I'm like, dang, that's so tragic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cute, but I think it's kind of tragic at the fact that, nobody understood our journey before. And I think that the people who did probably look at us now and are like, that's insane.
Facts.
That is insane that we're able to be here. So I have a question for you, because I never wanted to be married. Is this something that you always knew that you wanted to do with your life?
I think, it's so crazy that lunch that I had with Lauren Crump the other day. We had a really great lunch, and one of the things that I was talking to her about was how much we have to work together, and our process of scaling and what that looks like. And I was like, I just want Victoria to be my wife. I don't necessarily have a desire for you to help me grow the business. You are really great in those ways, but I think it kind of blurs the line. And to answer your question, if I had a desire for marriage, I think I was probably more similar to you. I think I wouldn't go around and say I would never get married, but it would have to make sense. Everything has to make sense to me. Like relationships have to make sense to me. Before I pull a hose off of the truck in a house fire or something, I'm always thinking, can we pull an extinguisher or something and not have to pick up all this hose after the fact? Everything with the kids have to make sense for me. And what I'm learning is to like take a step back from what makes sense, I guess, and then just kind of go with the flow. And I think you kind of taught me those things. And so I've dated a lot of people.
Have you?
Nope, I did not. I've dated one or two people.
No, you didn't. I'm just kidding.
Let me say it like this. I would have exploratory lunches with people.
Okay.
And then after a while, you start to just kind of see like people still learning themselves. And used to ask me all the time, like, why did you want to get married to me, right? And I never could really answer that for you. It's because like it was more like a discernment of knowing, like, shit, who you were going to be, and then I loved who you were. I think that in that ghetto, that ratchet season that you were talking about, I think we were figuring out ourselves. And I don't think people have enough patience while they're in the process of figuring out themselves to say that this person is truly for me and that they're truly supposed to be a part of my journey. I think that because we stuck it out, it looks like how it looks, but that's anything.
Yeah. I think I was 23 when we were married. You were 25. And I feel like that's a time, your 20s are literally that time in your life where you are truly desperate to know who you are and trying to figure out who you are. And I don't think that time in your life is necessarily designed to do that with anybody else.
Thanks.
And we were doing that with each other. And there were moments where we were frustrated with who each other were becoming in life. It's like, you're not doing enough, or you're doing too much, or, I can't keep up with where your life is going. Yeah. But now I think that we've seen the worst parts of each other, that now, there's no embarrassment. There's nothing you can do to embarrass me. And so with that, I'm like, it forces that vulnerability in a way that gets lost in the sauce when people get married so early. And I think that through the pandemic was like, I think that may have been like a super rough time for everybody else, but I truly believe that that's what brought us closer. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's when we had our third kid. That's when Cecilia came. And Cecilia is a true product of two people who knew for a fact at this time in life that this is for sure it. And I know that may sound crazy, but I think when we had Cecilia, I think we were married for 7 years.
Maybe.
Yeah, about 6 or 7 years. I don't know, which is typically the roughest time of somebody's marriage. But that was like the spark that we still have now. What would you say to people who are younger and that are married right now, that's just having such a rough time and trying to figure out like if this is even where I should be?
I would say to someone that is in that space to check their own personal motives, or expectations of what they have from marriage. My goal is to serve you. My goal isn't like self-serving. And when I say I'm not to serve you, I'm not an R&B kind of like, let me wash your feet and cook you some breakfast or something. The thought process of like partnership is like, you're always going to kind of get what it is that you need when the other person is truly healthy.
Yeah.
In the business relationship, in the regular relationship, and with your children. My goal is to be able to give the time to my kids. And in exchange, those things will translate because I've watched it with myself and my parents.
Yeah.
Easter Sunday was a great weekend for us because of the pouring that they did into us and the rest of my siblings. Now we're in a place where it's like, man, we are really feeling, this is one of the best seasons of my family for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that if people could focus on being a servant of other people, a lot of times we're self-serving in the fact of anytime you can look at someone and say that they look good and this is what I want to be on side of me, or you're thinking of all the things that bring you either pleasure or that advance you, you're not thinking about the other person.
Yeah.
And if you could find that, the sooner that you find that peace, I think the better for, and not just marriage, because marriage is just another form of relationship. I think that people are kind of messed up with relationships in general.
Yeah.
There's oftentimes people will come here and they have meetings and you can tell that their intentions are, let me get what it is that you have to give to us as it concerns our business.
Yeah.
And that's what business is. You exchange a dollar for something else. But we've kind of built our business off of being these selfless people, helping where we can help because, like you would call it a karma budget, right? It's like it's setting us up for the things that they couldn't even afford to be able to give us back.
Yes. Isn't that like the true definition of the love of God? It's like we can't earn his love ever, but he still gives it to us anyways. And I think that is very true. If everybody just kind of operate in that vein, you can have successful relationships in general. We are business partners. Lord, we literally spend almost every second of our day together. And so there's a lot of people who are trying to figure out like how do you juggle everything that you have going on? You're a firefighter, you run fourth floor, you're extremely hands-on with Curate. You're my business partner with Curate as well. And then we're also parents. And then we also have a social life, or we try to manage a social life. And so how do you manage this? That's a true, genuine question for me, because I see you every day, and most of what we talk about is work. And even when we go on dates, most of what we talk about is like work and our goals for the future of like, what does that look like? But how are you balancing all of that mentally and physically?
I asked a few people just recently, I was like, within the roles and the stuff that they're doing, I'm like, how do you balance that mentally? Because I really have a desire to know, not necessarily for them, right? I do care about, those things. But when I look at people that I admire, that I think that are doing things in a really great way, I look and I say, what are you doing that's different that I could be bettering my own mental? Because I don't know if I'm balancing well.
Yeah.
I think that our clients don't feel it. I think our kids may or may not feel it, right? But I think sometimes in certain seasons, it's just a roller coaster. It can feel like it's going up and down. And I've heard from people as well, they're like, this is the normal of your 20s and your 30s. And once you hit 40, then it was like all that work, all that roller coaster is accumulated to this point in time now that it all makes sense for you. I think that majority of people don't have a purpose that they know to tap into and to start working towards until they start doing their own internal work. And because of that, it leaves them feeling, or for at least from my perspective, I'll be looking at people and I'm like, man, y'all are just so free and just so, everything is good. But I think from a standpoint of my mental, you have been a really great help and support.
Oh.
And I know that what it is that you have to offer to women within this working space, because I'm already knowing that like women are going through the very same thing in the spaces that they work in the spaces where they're trying to build, they're trying to be visionaries, and they may encounter that same loneliness. I wouldn't want people to feel, how can I put it? I don't think I'm terrible mentally. I have a lot to be grateful for, and I think that's just what pushes me through. And I think whenever you can find the gratitude within the things that you're building, within the spaces that you're kind of circumventing and stuff like that, I think that that is the answer, because there is really no balance. I think there's not like I wish I could push a button to say I get all of this time with the kids, I still get to go provide, and I still get to do the things that I desire to do. I was also talking to Lauren the other day, and we had a conversation about this space of being like pioneers, right? And thinking forward, and like just the loneliness that comes with it. And it's not a loneliness of like, oh, feel bad for me, or loneliness of like I'm sitting in a corner and I'm crying or something. It's a loneliness of no one understanding what it is that you have to bring to life, and that you're burdened with bringing to life. It's a loneliness of no one being able to tell you if it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
And if you're doing it in the fashion that's going to be successful. And that is a crazy thing because I can't bring a lot of things to you, to my parents, to all these people that I trust because it was downloaded on me.
Yeah. That is very true. But then also, I think that you have to be aware of like the burdens that you carry. You're right. No person can tell you anything. It's like, you kind of are out there in the wilderness and you can only lean on God to tell you that. Especially in our household, because you're the leader in our household. Neither one of us can direct each other to say what it is that you're supposed to be doing. There are things that I would like to lead you in and direct you into and say what you're supposed to be doing, like more laundry or, but no, in real life, I think that there is this space of just knowing that it's lonely as far as people are concerned, but it's not lonely in knowing that as long as God is here with me on this journey, I can accomplish anything that is in front of me. And so I love that. And so let's wrap up this episode by talking about, so two things. With the Curate Allies, I really want to emphasize the importance of men being able to show up for women, even in spaces that do not benefit them whatsoever. And to do that, I personally feel like you have to recognize the strengths and weaknesses of the women and the people that you are with every single day. What does it look like for you, in your opinion, what does it look like when a woman has fully stepped into her courage, when she has truly stepped into her power and her purpose?
What does it look like for me? I have a couple of women like that, either in my life or that I just kind of admire from afar off. And of course, you are one. And I probably would just use you as an example without making you feel uncomfortable. I watched your transition from invisible to wanting to be behind the scenes, to people having a perception of you of just easygoing and go with the flow and all of these different things, to, oh, that's Ross's wife, right? To, oh, that's the girl with fourth floor. To, oh, Curate, that's the girl with the conference that fourth floor put on. To, that's the girl with Curate. To now you're Victoria. And I think that the beauty in that is that, like, just in, how they use in like parables or stories in the Bible or just like daily life, it's always the people that you don't expect. And I think that the encouragement or the point of me telling that story is to say that, like, I'm looking for a certain word and I'm like you and I can't think of what it is because I want to be so profound right now. But that shit is not coming to me. It's, but I think what it boils down to is that, like, women will sometimes, because of like how the constructs of the society is, women will step on each other to get this much higher for a man's attention, to when they don't even realize that they're the decision makers in a lot of these corporations and a lot of these business settings and a lot of these churches and a lot of these things. Women are the blood in the heart of these places.
Say the things.
And with me being an ally and me being able to realize this, I watch a lot of women that haven't reached that space. And they'll even try to get my attention. They'll step on you this much to get the attention of me, to get whatever it is that they want to get done. And I think that if we all understood, specifically women that work, understood that there is power in literally going through your internal work and then having that transition that you had from invisible to Victoria. I think I would love to see more people, and what that looks like for me. I answer your question. I'll be talking around a motherfucking circle. I think what that looks like for me is you have this confidence that's always been there. You were a black belt, you were a cheerleader, you all these things. You were confident when people put you into a role, but now you're confident just across the board. You're going to step up and create your own roles and bring that confidence in there, and that's what it looks like to be completely unconfused. That's what it looks like to be a woman that's just really clear.
And stepping into her power.
And stepping into her power.
Okay, my next question for you. Thank you so much. He always pours into me like this. Oh, how do you ignite the power in other women that are around you that you see trying to duck off in the back, or, you know, who are invisible? What is it that you do for them?
What is it that I do, or what is it that allies could do?
Both. I'm asking this because I've seen many men, particularly you, but not just you. There's a lot of men in my life who have like literally ignited this fire in me because of something that they've seen. And so they've either put me in spaces, they've put me in rooms, they've said my name around somebody who I could have helped or who could have helped me. And if it wasn't for those opportunities, if it wasn't for those talks that we've had, I don't know if I would have ever gotten to a place where I truly felt confident. Because sometimes you can know what you know, but if nobody is validating that, I don't care who you are, you care, right? And it's something about that validation that keeps you moving and keeps you going. And women, I mean, it stems literally from childhood when you want that affirmation from your dad, or you have a favorite uncle or a brother that pours into you. What is it that you do to help women get to that point? And why do you think that it matters hearing it from a man versus another woman?
Same reason why daughters need their fathers. Same reason why sons need their fathers. But specifically speaking, it's just something that I can't even put words to. As a girl dad now, I thought I had being a father figured out. And she does not care about none of my toughness or anything like that. There is a calm affirmation that you can give to a woman in a very platonic way that will make them feel seen, heard, and they won't be invisible anymore. That is the spark that can ignite the future leaders.
Yeah.
You know, and in the same way, I think what an ally is to realize that that same spark that you can give them can also be an extinguisher. So as you have to be not necessarily gentle with a woman. A woman doesn't need you to be gentle, but there's a delivery of power transfer that you can give to someone, to anyone else, but specifically talking like just watching the opportunity that I have to be Cecilia's dad. And watching that, you know, if I'm frustrated, that can transfer over to her in a way when I'm trying to show her the greatest things in her. This morning when we were leaving the house, and what I told her about, I said, don't beat yourself up too bad today, because I watch her, she's just like me. Don't, if you get frustrated, take a deep breath and know, and she's 3 years old. You have to feel it and hear it from as soon as you can get it. But I said, don't be frustrated. Don't beat yourself up. If you feel like you can't figure something out, take a deep breath and then let's ask for help. And so I think that's what an ally to me is. It's like whatever, I have this resource with my daughter in that way. I have a resource with all of these things, which isn't much. I'm no one's God, right? But I have a very small resource that I'm saying I'm willing to donate. Not donate. I'm willing.
I'm willing to share this with you.
I'm willing to share this with you. I'm willing to invest to help you grow, not because you're my wife, because you have the substance and because I can see what piece it is that you're missing.
Yes. All right. What's next for you?
What's next for me?
Yes.
Well, now that I've gotten out of the streets and the streets don't have a hold on me anymore.
Literally have never been in the streets.
But what's next for me is continuing to be just a human servant any way I can, right? From firefighting in a public way.
You plan on staying? Oh, you couldn't say that anyways.
We're even creating a foundation within, our company to where we're just going to keep pouring into nonprofits in a way to where we'll raise the capital to do your storytelling and things like that. So I'm excited about like the direction that our company is growing, that our family is growing, that Curate is growing, because it's all from the heart.
Yes.
So
Thank you, Ross.
absolutely.
Thank you for doing this with me. And thank y'all for tuning in. I knew it was going to be a very short amount of time before a man would want to come and sit up in this seat. Y'all knew that too, but
I didn't want to come here.
welcome. You did want to come.
I did not want to come here.
You definitely wanted to come. Anyways, thank y'all for tuning in. Bye. Bye. Mwah. Love you. I'm about to hurry up and change.